And here we are back again for another edition of Trey's Chow Down Live on Friday. And we're here with Chef John Tesar. John,
how are you, buddy?
Thank you, buddy. Appreciate you coming in today. Thanks for coming in today.
We're clean.
Yeah, we're clean. That's right. All right, guys. As usual, I want to do a little bit of stuff here locally, and then we're going to do one thing nationally. Locally, I want to discuss the restaurant closings, and some of you already know about this, and I'm not trying to be a negative nanny, but I just like telling everybody how hard this deal was for all the restaurateurs and chefs and service people in the industry. Cool River Cafe is done, and Bird Cafe in Fort Worth, 560, as everybody knows, is done. Sushi by Ishi's done at Trinity Groves. He went to work for somebody else, so he picked up a job.
Yeah.
I don't remember where he went, but I read about it. Highland Park Cafe is done. Chicken Scratch Restaurant. I really like Chicken Scratch. I thought it was good. I think they were having trouble before this happened. No, they were having a little trouble. Yeah. Dakota Steakhouse is done.
Wow.
Yeah, and then nationally, I know this is not a restaurant per se, but it's Chuck E. Cheese. They filed bankruptcy, and they don't know if they can come out of it at all. Wow. They're going to close 100 restaurants, and I mean, that's just for kids. I mean, that's just for the families.
No, I miss Dave & Buster's, and I read this morning that their profits are down over 65%.
Yeah.
Since the pandemic. You know, this has really hit the hospitality and the entertainment business. Really,
something terrible.
Really, really hard. You know, and it's hit everybody really hard, but I don't think people realize the impact of what it's really had on the restaurant business down the line, from the owners all the way to the dishwashers. You know?
No, I don't think they'd noticed it at all. No. And on the positive side, they have a new article come out that was studied by Harvard about proof that positive cultures in restaurants and kitchens are more productive, which I think everybody knows, but it's a big 5-page article. I thought it was cool. I read about it. It just said that, being more positive in restaurant atmosphere in the kitchens and in front of the house, back of the house, made for better productions, which I think everybody knows that.
I agree. Having been a student over the decades, I prefer the more peaceful, equal atmosphere rather than the dictator chef who's going to hit you in the head with a
throw stuff at you. And you've seen all that. Okay, and on a positive note, we've got 3 new restaurants that have opened up during the pandemic, and y'all know this because I did an article on some dang good Chinese, which is a Romano deal. It's very, very good. Have you seen it? They got dumplings. They make everything fresh from order. Dumplings, noodles, everything.
I haven't gotten out of the house just yet. I'm ready to go out, but
good.
That one's intrigued me because I really been longing for some, being a New Yorker.
Yeah.
I've been longing for some real, authentic Chinese
You'll
food.
like it. He's got 7 authentic Chinese guys in the kitchen. I mean, they are all passionate about it. It's a really neat deal.
I think I gave him that idea a long time ago.
You did?
Because I was telling people for years, if you're such a big, prolific restaurateur, why wouldn't you just go to New York or San Francisco, or someplace where there's a real authentic, Chinese population, and just offer an entire family to come to Dallas and give them a restaurant so we'd have real Chinese food here.
That's what he did. It's really good.
It's like what Teach did in Tejan. Yeah. He came here 25 years ago, got off the plane in Amarillo, and then the rest is history.
Yeah.
But it's authentic, and it's, I think with these Asian cuisines, you definitely need someone who's lived it and grown up with it.
I agree.
You just can't.
You can tell the difference.
Yeah, you definitely can tell the difference.
Yeah. And tonight I'm going to one just opened up in Colony called 7 Doors. It's Small Bites and Eats and American and sushi. And it looks really good. It's a chef and his wife, so I'm going to go check it out. And then Rufus Bar and Grill in Fort Worth. That's Chef Billy Woodrich. He shut down Billy Oaks Barbecue and opened up Rufus Bar and Grill in Fort Worth over on Brian Irvin, and it's really good.
No, that's great. And hats off to you and applause to you for supporting restaurants, because, I know we're in a very difficult time, and, everyone likes to get political and have empathy or, on the bad side, sympathy. And I tell people all the time, sympathy is something you do that seems benevolent to make yourself feel better.
Right.
Empathy is putting yourself in the other person's shoes and kind of supporting them and helping them get through it.
Right.
2 different things. And I think people confuse those 2 all the time. And, and I love all these people like Tom Colicchio. I'm my heart out to that guy. He's been awesome to me through Top Chef, as a chef in New York City, everything that he does for people. But if people think that the government is going to bail out restaurants, they're out of their freaking minds.
Yeah, no, they're not. No,
because
they can't. They can't.
There's so many of them, and we cannot let fame or celebrity or the coasts have those restaurants bailed out and then forget about the rest of the country, because then we're just going to create all of this other divide. And I think what people don't realize right now, it's great to have reaction, and it's great to, have change.
Right.
And, I've been very adamant about this. My mother marched in Selma.
Right.
I grew up in a civil rights family. Right? As a white person about all this, I just shut up and listen right now. That's just, I think the safest thing anyone can do is just kind of let it all play itself out. But the overreaction and the overcompensation just creates, in my experience over the lifetime, creates more isms.
Yes, it does.
Because whenever you give something to somebody and not to somebody else, it's like your brother. If your mother gave you a toy and didn't give your brother a toy, there's going to be a fight in the house.
You might hit him and take it away from him.
Yeah, exactly.
And what do you have?
At the very least, it's resentment.
Yeah.
So, I look at things pragmatically, and even borrowing money as a restaurant is difficult because we work on such...
You got to pay it back.
We work on such small profit margins. Imagine having to borrow $200,000 to float yourself through this.
Right.
And then even if you're a successful restaurant with 80 or 100 seats, the most you're going to make is $200,000 that year, right? So for the next 2 years, you're basically going to be paying back that loan to stay in business.
That's right.
And this is what's happened to the restaurant business. I mean, you can't justify it. You can't explain it. You can't make sense out of it. The only way you're going to save the restaurant that you love is to go to it
and visit it and support it.
Visit it and support it.
And I'll tell you, we won't know the full effect until next year sometime, because people are going to limp along. They're going to borrow this, borrow that, beg, borrow, and steal, because that's their passion, that's their life, that's their restaurant.
Yeah.
And so we won't know the full effect of this for a whole other year. I just don't think we will.
I think you have 24 months of fallout, and you're going to lose 25 to 30% of the restaurants that we all know. And in New York, iconic restaurants. Like I heard the other day, a good friend of mine is very close with Eric Rapier. I know Eric, from Tony and eating there, and we're friends, but not enough to talk business with him. That restaurant might not ever open again.
Yeah.
And to me, that's a sin that these iconic places, New York was hit very, very hard. That's the way it goes, unfortunately, But to lose these kind of like real institutions and places that are qualitative, you know what I mean? I think there's just been a trend because we've all kind of like wanted to go to the youthful side of our business.
I was just fixing to say that.
When I came up, we had to respect those who were older, more accomplished, more experienced. And now our business, all the magazines, the Food Network, everything is about young, new, ethnic.
Yeah.
And then what we have now is a world drenched in like fast casual, mediocre ethnic food.
Right.
Fine dining is struggling.
Right.
And now during this pandemic, we're going to lose 25 to 30% of the qualitative restaurants in this country. And then the thing that really ticked me off was, and I have nothing against them, but when I heard that like Ruth Chris took $20 million from the government, I mean, I looked at my friend and I said, they must be paying bills from 5 years ago. Every time I go by one of those places, it's not very full. And I feel for them. I have empathy for them. But it's part of this, like, you have to reinvent yourself. You have to stay current, all the time. Yes.
And you know what's caused that? Back to that same thing, Food Network, young food writers. You've got to stay current all the time, and you have to redo your restaurant, and you've got to keep your staff up knowledgeable. I mean, it's an every. But that's why on my social media, I do old restaurants. I do, restaurants have been in business 5-10 years, and then I do new restaurants. I have a mixture because I think it's all part of that restaurant culture. We got to visit all of them. They all have to have our support.
Yeah, you should go. You should experience everything.
Yeah.
We're all about the new. I think hopefully this will change people's perspectives a little bit and appreciate the ones that have been around. I mean, I'm very lucky. Knife is going into year 6.
Yeah.
And I have all of these other deals based on the success of Knife. I'm going to survive the pandemic and the racial uprising in this country. I've been very lucky and blessed. And, we have plans to give back and help. But I'm only one person.
Right.
And we're only 1 or 2 or 3 restaurants. We can only do so much.
Well, I did see one real quick thing. Our best barbecue article is coming out July 2nd. Y'all need to be sure and look for that. One thing I did see, I saw you post some pictures. They broke the glass out or something. And did they break the glass out of your?
The first night after the video of Mr. Floyd's death was released, there was some tension in Dallas, and they shot up. They didn't shoot up the hotel. So I have, I've been I'm not a conspiracy theorist, but I believe that some people who weren't involved in civil rights or even cared about police violence or systemic racism, just wanted to stir the pot.
Right.
And at 3 o'clock in the morning, they went around the side of the building and shot up Salon Pompeo, what used to be NOLA, that restaurant's an empty space. For years. It was Trader Vic's.
Right.
And then Mint Dentistry.
Yeah.
And they shot up like, 8, 9 feet up.
Where they couldn't hurt anybody.
Where they couldn't hurt anybody because they were smart enough, no matter who they were, if they shot up a hotel and a restaurant, that's attempted murder.
Yeah.
So I think people were just frustrated. I couldn't tell you who did it. I didn't witness it. But, yeah, it was kind of frightening to wake up in the morning and have, bullets.
Kind of crazy, isn't it?
Yeah, it's crazy, especially after everyone's been suffering and stuck in the house and losing money and people dying that, it's a crazy world out there, and
it just seems like all gloves are off. It's like nobody gives it's just amazing.
Well, we need leadership, and it's not, everybody knows me. I'm not a Donald Trump fan. I'm not going to go off on that today. I like to agree to disagree with everybody.
Sure.
It's just only my opinion. But I think politics in itself, this is exposing first the pandemic and then the death of George Floyd, how unprepared we are, number one, for something like a pandemic. Because if it was an airborne virus, or if it was a weaponized form of virus from Russia or China or from somebody, from a Taliban or something like that, you see that we're totally screwed.
Yeah.
We're totally screwed. And then as far as racism, like I said earlier, I have my own personal beliefs. I was raised that everyone's equal. And in the same way, I believe it works two ways. So if you don't like somebody or something, it's not that I don't respect you. I'm just not going to attack you for it or get involved in it. I live my life my way. Right. I'm only a human being. I let God make the decisions. I tell my children, it's not for a human being to be the judge or the jury.
Right.
And to be a judge and a jury at the same time is probably the worst
thing. Yeah.
Worst thing you could possibly do.
They got to be separated.
I learned a long time ago, just let go and let God take care of these things. And, conduct yourself the way, treat others the way you would want to be treated yourself.
That's a big thing.
Yeah.
Now let's talk. You're from New York.
I'm a New Yorker, born and raised.
Right. And you started your career in New York.
Yeah. I was a chef. I started working in restaurants at 16 years old, washing dishes by hand. Ironically, I learned how to grill hamburgers and steak on a gas, like with those radiant stones.
Right.
In a cafe, and it was a pub in West Hampton Beach called The Magic, which we had the hamburger because it was a hamburger with cheddar cheese, bacon on an English muffin. So to this day, I still
wait. Don't you have a burger called The Magic?
Yeah,
I've eaten it.
Yeah,
I've eaten it. Yeah, it's all the English muffin.
You've touted, you've loved it. Everyone loves the Ozerski, but I like The Magic.
Yeah.
But that's where it comes from.
Yeah.
So I've come full circle now that we have knife and steaks, and it's just my career has been an interesting, beautiful journey. And now that I'm 62 years old and I've survived a pandemic, and I know this too shall pass. I'm hearing there's some good treatments with antibodies and vaccine. I don't know about a vaccine. I want more of a treatment because I think people will be more apt to go back out and gather in groups. If they know that if they get sick, they'll be able to be treated. Yeah. A vaccine, people take a flu shot and then 3 days later they have the flu. I'm not a doctor, so don't take any medical advice.
But you're a hell of a chef
from me at all. I get depressed watching the news. I just try to extrapolate some information.
Turn it off and go to a restaurant.
Yeah, exactly. Turn off CNN, Fox, and whatever you watch, and just go out to a restaurant. And I want to tell people this also. If we all just wore masks in public for 3 weeks, you don't have to wear it at home around your friends, right? If we just all put on a mask at the grocery store or in public when we were around people less than 6 or 10 or 12 feet, this thing would be gone already.
So gone is what New Zealand's gone. They don't have one case.
The Czech Republic, they're going to work without masks, and there are no new cases of coronavirus.
Yeah.
So don't politicize this thing. Humanize this thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And let's get back on with our lives so we don't have to talk about such disparaging things and worry about getting bailed out by the government, going into a recession, having 40 million unemployed people in America. Come on, everybody. And it's not about you, me, or the other person. It's about all of us just getting back to our lives.
Yeah, getting back doing normal things. Visiting local. The biggest thing is to visit local businesses. That's my biggest thing right now. Please visit your local restaurant. Eat, drink, carry out. If you want to take it out, carry out. That's good. Now let's talk about when this thing started. You were as you like any other chef or restaurateur was. But let's back up a minute. You're in a different position because you're not only a chef, you're also a restaurateur.
Yes.
Which means you rely on yourself, this is
the company right here.
That's right. Which is a big difference than somebody that gets a paycheck from somebody else.
Exactly.
So you had to figure out what to do, and you was going through your mind, and then so tell us a story about how you decided to sell your steaks and what happened.
I'll tell you, the first few days I was like, wow. Thank God I'm in this position because I have this wonderful licensing deal in Orlando at the Ritz-Carlton at the Grand Lakes Resorts. We're going to open up in Laguna Beach, which is a Marriott, but will be a JW Marriott Outer Reef. I'm going to go back to the seafood. I'm doing a deal in Austin right now for a brand new hotel, which I'll do all of the F&B and have a knife in Austin on 12th Street.
Oh, I can't wait.
Sometime in 2021. And so I was like, thank you, God. I was on my knee. I'm telling you, Trey, I was on my knees going like, thank God. And then as it started to really sink in,
yeah.
I'm going, if the hotels close and no one's going to travel and all this thing's going to shut down, these contracts, these agreements
null and void
are worthless.
Yeah.
And even the one that a knife is a strange thing because I've been at the Highland Hotel, which was the Palomar when I first came into it. 6 years now. Been through 3 owners, and Knife has made that hotel close to $8 million. So I figured at least I'm good there.
Yeah.
Right? Nothing. When there was the lockdown, I got not even calls, emails, and the Highland was different because we had a little bit of a dialogue and I was there and we were working through the closing of the hotel and stuff like that. But it got shut down. I had no income.
Yeah.
And I'm in the middle of, traveling to open these new projects and working at it. And I fund all that.
Yeah.
From my licensing fees. So I literally had nothing. I had a $15,000 American Express bill and my monthly nut coming up right there. And on the 28th of March,
and
I got
nothing coming in.
I got an email from Laguna Beach that said, Outer Reef is on hold till the pandemic's over and still on hold.
Yeah.
And we will no longer be compensating you until the restaurant opens for anything. Right. And Orlando, I didn't expect anything because we weren't open yet.
Right.
And then, Austin is on paper.
Right.
And then I went back to the Highland. And I had a moment of just like, dude, what are you going to do with yourself?
Yeah.
So I went to the owners and I said, what are you going to do, man? Because this is crazy times. I said, I've made so much money for this hotel. You're just going to throw me out in the street? I said, I have kids to take care of. At that point, it became very personal.
Right.
Before, I was worried about my business.
You go through stages, right? You went through stages, yeah.
I was looking at restaurants closing and going, God, those poor guys, what are they going to do about their rent? Because landlords are going to be unscrupulous and still want their rent because a lot of them have mortgages with banks that they have to pay them.
Exactly.
There's all of this business lined up that, even though if you have empathy or sympathy or, you want to see these people survive, it was just hard times for everybody. So Jason Schimmels, who runs all of the sales for 44 Farms, and I had a conversation. I was distraught.
Yeah.
I wouldn't use the word suicide because I want to have respect for people who have that issue. But I know what it's like to be distraught. I've been there before.
Right.
Like you read the Bourdain books. I've lived on floors. I've worked at Formerly Joe's. I've been broke.
Yeah, I remember you telling me about that. Yeah.
Yeah. That kind of prepared me for this. But nothing prepares you for like when you don't have 2 nickels to rub together.
Especially when you got 2 kids.
Yeah. Everything. I thought I was going to lose. There was a moment there for 48 hours. I'm going like, okay, this thing could go on for 6 months, and you're going to lose everything that you've worked for your entire life. And then I said, I'm not going to feel sorry for myself. I was started to look out into the world and see what was going on. And Jason called me the next day. I love these guys at 44 Farms.
Yeah,
they're
44 Farms
people.
are awesome.
They're just salt of the earth people.
Yeah.
They really are beautiful people. And Jason says, Chris Shepard sold the steak he had in his aging box, and he sold out in 1 day. So I just went, wow. And I had all this meat aging for Laguna and all this meat aging for Orlando. Plus we had the Plano restaurant closed. And we had
that was full.
Because
you got a butcher shop there.
Yeah. It was full. We had over 150 primals from 44 Farms and Heartbrand. So I was like, okay, I'm going to give it a shot.
How if you wouldn't have done that, how long would that stuff would it always gone bad?
We lost some because you know, it can go to 240 days, but the average person is not going to buy a 240 day.
They're not going to eat it.
They're not going to. They're not going to understand it, and it's not right for me to try to sell that profile, to them as a steak. It's just not. It would. And I was worried about, even during the pandemic, being shut down and not having a source of income. I was still concerned about customer service and keeping my clientele and not acting not acting out in a desperate way and destroying everything just to survive.
Sure.
That was, like you said, in stages.
Yeah.
So the first stage was like, wow, I'm protected. The second stage was like, oh no, you're not. The third stage was like,
reality.
Contracts are useless. Don't even think about calling a lawyer and being a jackass and destroying those relationships because your back's against the wall. Figure out how to survive.
Right.
And I think that's the best advice I can give to people. And I was going like, wow, if I had a French restaurant now, what would I'd have? A can of snails in the pantry, and that's all I'd have other than the food in my walk-in that's going to go.
Right.
So the fact that we had all of this dry-aged steak, you know, to me, it's like divine intervention. It saved my life.
Right.
And God bless the people of Texas and Dallas and Fort Worth for supporting me and literally. So the first night, I put it on social media.
Right. I remember when you did it. I was like, oh.
Yeah. And I said, at 3 o'clock tomorrow, you can I put my own phone number up there.
Yeah, I couldn't believe you did that.
People think I'm a celebrity. I don't know what that means. I'm John Tesar. I don't care. You can call me anytime you want. I don't understand that whole grandiosity of it. We're all equal. You know, it's like the same thing. So, and sure enough, the first day, 100 orders. I sold 300 steaks. And I thought it was going to be a one-time shot. And then people just started texting me going, I hear, we want to support, we want to do it. I turned it into a two-month business.
Right.
I turned over all the meat that would have gone bad in Plano.
All of it.
I've kept all the inventories for Laguna and Orlando safe and rotated. Some of it out so we can replace it. And actually, when these restaurants open, that everything's not 120, 150 days.
Right.
Even though they will buy new steak.
Right.
So it was not only, it was three-pronged, Trey. It was like, it saved my life. The people of Dallas saved my life. Knife, the appreciation for knife.
Sure.
Having that beef, right? Keeping those relationships with those other people and still having them after this is going to be over.
Right.
And learning how to survive.
And the main thing too is you didn't lose your mind and do crazy stuff that would have broke those relationships. If you would, my granddad told my dad a long time ago. I mean, decades ago. If they're going to make a decision, think about it for a while before you make that decision. I promise you, it'll change. And you thought about it.
I took 48 hours. I called my attorney. We discussed it like men.
Yeah. And
then the advice he gave me was like, just ride it out, man.
Yeah.
Don't destroy these relationships because it's irrational behavior at that moment. And you know, I've been someone who's been irrational in my life or just very reactive. You know, I still am.
Yeah.
You know, follow me on social media. Don't hate me for it. It's just my opinion. I respect yours. I hope you respect me, and we can agree to disagree. You know, but it really, that whole thing saved my life. And it's given me a whole appreciation for a lot of different things. It's really changed my whole perspective on life.
So, John, what to you, in your opinion, what was the hardest thing for you during this pandemic when everything was closed? For you and yourself, and as a chef and a restaurateur, as a father, what was your hardest? What you think your hardest about to get over?
I had nightmares that I was going to have to actually tell everyone that relies on me, especially my children, that we might have to move. We might have to not have cars soon. And I don't know what the next step was going to be. I didn't want to have that moment. I wouldn't have gotten to that moment. I would have done something.
Which you did.
I would have borrowed some money or something, which I wouldn't have wanted to do because I don't like to do that. You know, I've been in the restaurant business my whole life.
As soon as you borrow money, it hangs over your head every day. You think about it every day, all day long.
It does. It changes relationships. It changes your body chemistry. It changes your health,
your personality.
It's an evil. That's where money is the root of all evil at a certain point. You know, but I'm blessed. You know, and I'm going to try to support as many people as I can as we come out of this. And it's really a level of appreciation and understanding for my customers and people out there. And I just want to say thank you to all of them. I mean, I have, but I still have people calling. We're open. And as a courtesy, I'm still selling steak to people who don't want to come out of their houses.
Yeah, that's what I was going to say. Still doing pretty good.
I'm not just going to say, hey, screw you, I'm open now.
No.
I have an obligation to keep them.
I told people when I was talking, I told you I talked to chefs every day, restaurateurs every day during this whole deal. I would call, I'd make 4 to 6, 8 calls a day and talk to people. And the people who survived and have done well are people who made that change, who figured out what they were going to do. They went with it. They just took their gut and went with it, and they started doing the carry out or selling barbecue or selling whole briskets, whatever they could sell, curbside, setting up tents. And those people that made that change are fine. They're going to be fine. The ones that just gave up are not going to be around. And I'm sorry to say, if you just give up on your passion, you're not going to have it anymore.
You know, that happened to me once before in my life, Trey. I had a restaurant, very successful in the Hamptons, had an 11-year run. People don't, you know, they used to call me parapathetic, which means I moved around a lot.
Yeah.
But from 80...
No, but you liked moving, though, didn't you?
But from 80... Actually, I worked in the restaurant from 77 to 82. At the age of 24, I bought it at 24 years old, and I ran it for 10 years. Sold it and went broke. So I knew what it was like not to have anything. I lost my apartment. I got divorced. I lost my daughter in the process. I lost everything I had. I had not one material possession except the clothing on my back. And this day, when the pandemic hit, I flashed back to that moment.
Oh, man.
But what that moment taught me was what not to do. And exactly what you said was, don't give up. Don't expect anyone. I'm not saying this in a negative way. Don't expect anybody to help you when everybody's suffering.
Yeah.
You know, don't turn the self-pity. You know, at that moment, that's when a woman or a man needs to be an adult.
Yeah. And
you got to figure it out because you have kids, you have responsibilities, and this wasn't the end of the world. It was like, I was thinking maybe 6 months.
Right.
Right? I was going 6 months. I said, there's too much money on the table. Medicine's got to come through.
Yeah.
The whole world will collapse.
All this goes through your mind, yeah.
Yeah, it's like racing through your head.
Yeah.
And then when I got the first orders of steak, the whole world just, like literally just, it was like the sun came out.
Yeah.
My heart opened up. The stress went away. And I was able to like
function
again, stay home, take care of the kids, do my ordering twice a week. I took care of the hotel. I even sold some of their meat that they owned.
Yeah.
You know, and I felt I had a transformative moment. You know, I mean, I'm adopted. I never met my birth mother, and my adoptive mother was awesome. She really laid the groundwork for who I am and all the things that are good in my life. And I went to therapy during this time, and I was just like, my mothers would have been proud of me.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And I really, that to me was the most freeing part of it. You know, the difficult part was telling my family that we're in trouble here.
Yeah.
But then when I could tell them that Dad's a man and I came up with an alternative and we weren't getting cocky about it, we weren't taking advantage. We were like, I've sent steak to people around the country that didn't have 2 nickels to rub together, you know, because I wanted them to feel like somebody was caring for them. Or somebody was there for them too.
Sure.
You know, in New York City, guys that I know that had tons of money, I just sent them steak.
It's just crazy. I told you before the show, when this deal was going on, I would get on social media every day and read and knew about restaurants in New York and LA through their social media because I was trying to stay abreast, and it was just crazy. It's still going on up there. That whole restaurant dining scene in Los Angeles and New York is going to be totally changed forever.
More so, I think LA might rebound because California's. It's just more open and more outdoorsy.
Yeah.
New York, if there's a second spike this winter, it's never going to be the same. But if New York gets a second spike again in September, October, November, I don't think the city won't ever be the same again because people will be apprehensive to even go there and enjoy themselves, let alone go to a restaurant or want to live there.
Yeah.
It's a serious time to take a look. I think what this pandemic did for me, and I hope other people feel the same way, I had to take my own inventory about how I get along with other people, how I conduct myself as a human being, how prepared am I truly there to take care of my family rather than just being like chef all the time. Or like, hey, Daddy's in Los Angeles today, or Daddy's at Pebble Beach, or Daddy's at Aspen, or like, I'm cooking on TV. That whole thing's blown up in my head. I don't care about any of that stuff anymore.
Right.
I care about just putting food on the table, keeping my family alive and safe.
Normal John.
Yeah. Everyone should just go back to being normal who they are. Forget about all of this, I want this, I need that, all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
It's been a time of reckoning, and I hope that it sticks with people. Because we have a habit here
of forgetting
really quickly because of the way the world moves so fast.
911's a good example. I mean, It's yeah,
Exactly.
I mean, I've never forget. I remember that every week. I remember that. It's just so scary. And when this thing hit, I really thought when this thing hit at first, my mind was like, somebody overseas did this to us. Somebody planted made some virus and planted it and knew what they were doing. That was my original thought.
Yeah.
And I just, you know, no,
I mean,
I start thinking about that again.
When stuff happens like this, your mind will just, this is the problem of like too much time on your hands, too much news, depending on what you watch.
Yeah.
You know, it was all about hospitalizations and death counts for week after week. I would tweet them and just go like, can you show me somebody who's recovered? Can I hear a good positive story?
Yeah.
And then they finally started like doing more positive stories, but there's still, and then we went right into, you know, like the death of George Floyd. And like, I'm saying like, everybody wake up, man, because racism isn't going away.
Yeah.
It's not going away.
Yeah.
I wish it would, but it's not. It's systemically built into our culture from slavery, right?
Yeah.
So what side of the fence you want to be on is going to define you as a human being. And I said in the beginning, I'm not judging anybody. I'm not preaching to anybody. I treat everybody the same way, and I react to people the way they behave. And I would expect that they did the same thing to me.
Yep.
You know, and that's all we can hope for is that, you know, get back to work, take care of your family. I've always been one of these old school kind of guys. Just put your nose to the grindstone.
Support local.
Support local, for sure. I mean, what else can you do?
No, you can't do anything.
Yeah. You're not going to Europe for a while.
No, you know, nowhere.
So
Vegas just don't
You're not
back
going to
up.
Aspen. You're not going to Aspen for Aspen food and wine.
No.
Go eat at your favorite restaurant.
That's right. Spend a little bit of that money you've been saving by not going out and go eat you a nice steak or go eat you a nice restaurant
and all
somewhere.
that. You know, I have guys that are. I had to talk them into coming back to work because they were making more money
at home
from unemployment and stimulus checks than work. And I said, dudes, this is temporary.
Yeah.
And the world is going to judge you. If you want to be one of those lazy people that wants to sit back on the couch, I said, I understand if you're worried about getting the virus or you have a pre-existing condition or something, or you're just germophobic or you don't want to get sick.
Right.
I respect that.
Right.
But if you're sitting at home on the couch
watching TV
because the government's floating your butt, and you're going to watch us walk into a recession, and you're one of those people that complains about food stamps and welfare and all that other stuff, you're the biggest hypocrite in the world.
Yeah.
Get your butt off the couch.
Get back to work.
And get back to work and start working as a society again. And forget about all these big picture things for a while. And take care of your family. Take care of your neighborhood. Take care of your friends, because that's what's really important.
Support local means support local. That means we all support. That means you go back to work. You help support the restaurant. The restaurant, people come in, they buy, they support the restaurant. It supports the economy. It's not, support local does not mean just buy local. It means everybody do something to locally support your community. Yeah. Basically, that's what it means.
I mean, I was really impressed, like restaurants like Jose, and there's a few other ones that just really went right from the lockdown to curbside.
They did.
And at first, they caught a lot of flack for it.
They did.
Because people were like, "Oh my God, you're going to spread the virus." Blah blah. Baloney. They did it. They did it well. They did it respectfully, and it was an inspiration to me to see that people had that much pride in their business and also wanted to be a service to the community. And like 2 weeks into the selling of the steak, it's amazing how many restaurateurs were coming to buy steak from us just to support. And then I was going home, and I was, with the money that I was making from the steak, I was going on whatever delivery service it was, and I was buying food from their restaurant to support them back and forth. We were trying to, you know, create this community of reciprocity, and I think that's what we need to focus on. You know, and Dallas has always been a place. You know, Fort Worth has always been more of a, I think, more of a community. Not as snipey.
Right, you're right.
Dallas is more of a competitive place.
Right.
And
very competitive.
Segregated, like, oh, you're from Highland Park? Oh, you're from Lakewood? Oh, you're from these neighborhoods? Like, and people don't leave their neighborhoods.
Yeah.
I think now we need to, like, you know, just be aware of, like, where we live and who we are. That's all.
Hashtag support local.
Yeah.
Put on everything.
Exactly.
Okay. So let's talk about, I want to talk about your other restaurants.
Yes.
So you've got the one in Orlando.
We have, it's called Knife and Spoon.
Right.
It's a combination of knife and spoon, so it's steak and seafood.
For people who don't know, Spoon was your old restaurant here.
Spoon was a seafood restaurant. We had, I worked for RM Seafood in New York and Las Vegas, and I grew up on the East End of Long Island. I was a seafood chef most of my life before steak took over my entire universe.
Hence my octopus cup today.
Yeah. So we're going to get back into that a little bit. And I was luckily the owners of that. They just purchased the property. And I'm not replacing. I'm I'm walking in the footsteps of what was formerly Norman Van Aken's.
Right.
I did that once before with Dean Ferring.
Right.
And so it was that whole little, Dean Ferring, Norman Van Aken, Charlie Trotter, Emeril Lagasse.
Right.
I got two down. I got Dean and Norman. Charlie has passed on, unfortunately.
Yeah.
And Emeril,
I'm coming
for you, buddy. No, I was kidding. No, but it's an honor. It's an honor to be able to be, to have first, walked in the footsteps of Dean, and now to be in the same space as an iconic chef.
Well, you were telling that's a big resort.
Norman.
That's a big resort.
Yeah, well, Norman was has been the chef of Florida for decades, and I have a tremendous respect for that. And he's still there, existing. We're not looking to. It's not a competition,
right?
But John Tesar has a restaurant in a Ritz-Carlton in a 500-acre resort, and I'm blessed. And
you're gonna sell steaks as well.
We're gonna sell steak from 44 Farms,
awesome.
and all. Talk about supporting local.
Yeah.
We only do the Texas beef.
Right.
I am 44 Farms, Heart brand. We use a little Creekstone for halal, or people who are concerned about how the animal's slaughtered or something like that. And that's our program, and we stick with it. And then the seafood is obviously going to be from the entire East Coast. And then we're doing Outer Reef,
right, in Laguna
Beach at the Marriott Cliffs
Can't
Resorts.
Wait. I had a house there for 8 years. Yeah, I love it.
That's going to be all seafood, but we're also going to have an element of steak for that hotel guest, or people that want to bring a guest that don't eat.
They need good steak. They need good. There's not a lot of good steak in that part of California. So
you would know better than I, but I've heard that.
And
And that's why they brought me out there to do those things. So I'm really super lucky.
It's a beautiful location too.
And both these dining rooms have been renovated over $5.5 million and ready to go. So, I also thought during this pandemic that what if these deals weren't like closed or construction had started?
Yeah.
Maybe they wouldn't have materialized.
Yeah.
They would have just been like, sorry, we can't do this anymore. So to be in this position, I must have done something right, because God's shining down on me to have survived this and have these wonderful opportunities to go to once we have some kind of resolve to this problem right now.
It's called passion, John. They see your passion, what you've done.
It's my life.
And that's right.
But I'm there were times in my life where I needed a lot of attention because I was insecure and jealous, and I just wanted to be somebody.
Don't you think that sometimes as we grow, a lot of us are like that, and as you grow, you kind of realize what's important, and you can get out of that aspect of it? And
I think it's still passion. I think when you're young, you're misguided because, I didn't have a lot of mentors at that point, because my dad had some emotional problems as I was older. And I started cooking in restaurants at 17 years old. That became my home and my family. And that, I think there's never been any place more safe or diverse for outlaws, outliers, and all races, creeds, colors, misfits than a restaurant kitchen.
Yeah.
So, I've grown up in that environment and very fortunate to have, had my ups and downs. But like I said, those earlier times prepared me to get through this and the great support of people here in Texas.
You cooked with Tony. You met Bourdain in New York, right?
Yeah, that's when oddly enough, I met Bourdain when I had lost everything.
Okay.
I was getting evicted. I literally picked up the New York Times when you could pick up a newspaper and go to the want ads. Remember those days?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There were pages
actually real
of them.
jobs.
Yeah.
They were actually before headhunters, before social media and electronics.
There were pages of them.
You could get a job in the New York Times. You could get a good job in the New York Times. So, and this wasn't a good job at Formerly Joe's, but I just had to take a job. And sure enough, Bigfoot, who's in Kitchen Confidential's legendary, Andy Menschel, he said there's going to be a guy, he's a writer. He went to CIA. He goes down to St. Martin with his wife, at the time Nancy, and he writes and hangs out. And during the busy season, he comes back to New York and he helps me out. And he's worked in other restaurants before. So he goes, I said, great, a trained chef. And so Tony and I hit it off. And I was just reading, I do audiobooks, but I was just going through that the other day because it's the second anniversary of his passing.
Right.
And, and I posted that on social media. We were friends in the 80s. We bickered in the 90s.
Right.
We fought in the 2000s.
Yeah.
And, it's just amazing that I got to share that much time with him and him with me. And it taught me a lot about, how people's paths in life can change. And you kind of stick with what your passions are. And getting back to what you're saying about passion, when you're young, unless you have really solid grounding and a lot of mentors, it turns into like jealousy and desire, and it's almost biblical and all of these things, like a fable.
Right.
All the things that you shouldn't be doing. But I think as you get older and you fall down a few times, you learn that the passion is really just what you love and what
You have to channel it.
the path you should be following. You just kind of get rid of some of the demons and learn how to do it the right way.
I have demons. I just try to let them poke their head up too often.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Everybody has demons. I mean, I think the sooner we realize that we're all just kind of like, flawed human beings, and the best thing you can do is just try to make yourself a better person every day, and try to do the best you can, but prioritize like your family, your children, your friends, and put things in perspective.
I like Bob Dylan and Ray Wiley Hubbard and guys that you saw. I think everything's better with a story. That's why I like songs with stories. And Ray Wiley released one last week, a new song called "Bad Trick," and it's everybody turns a bad trick now and then. And everything he says in this song is true. And I just absolutely love the song. And what he's saying is nobody's perfect, and it's the truth. You just have you have to figure out what makes you drive and do that, and then what's not good for you. You can't get rid of it, but make it go away, make it go down somewhere you can do your job or do what your passion is.
No, exactly. I'm a simpleton in the sense that one sentence or a validation from another human being can change the path of my entire life.
Sure.
And about 20 years ago, there was a chef in New York named John Shank. I think he came down to Houston to cook for a while because he worked for Strip Steak and the Glazier Group for a while. But I met him when he was the chef at the Monkey Bar. A famous chef.
Monkey Bar, I like that name.
Yeah, it was in it was a hotel on the Upper East Side, and they had the restaurant, the Monkey Bar, in there. And John told me, he goes, in this business, never judge anybody by what they did yesterday. Look who they are today, because it's a tough business and they can change. And you have to understand that they can learn lessons, they can change, they can become better people, and everybody deserves a second chance. And I'm on like my third chance, so I understand that more than anybody. So it's just about like kind of being happy in the life that you have, and when those demons do pop up, realize they're demons and just kind of push them aside.
So let me ask you a question, John. In your opinion, what is the hardest thing for you as being a chef and a restaurateur about the restaurant business? Like, what's the hardest thing for you to do daily that's a challenge for you every day? Like, if someone's listening and they're trying to get into, and they're being a chef, they're a restaurateur, what's the hardest thing for you in your opinion?
I mean, that's changed over the years,
right?
Because I think when I first started, restaurants would be around forever because there weren't so many of them.
Yeah, not anymore.
And that might happen too.
Yeah.
But now with so many new restaurants, and then what we were talking about earlier, the desire to focus on the young and the ethnic and the new and the different and the avant-garde, you have to realize that if you have a restaurant now, you're going to have to reinvent yourself 36 to 48 months from now.
Yep.
Whether that restaurant is the biggest success in the world, you're going to have to figure out what's going to happen in year 4, 5, and 6.
Yep.
Because look at El Bulli, world phenomenal, changed the world of food. Gone. Didn't make money. Didn't make money. One of my close friends and a chef I respect immensely, like Bruno Davignon. They built that beautiful $10 million restaurant down in downtown Dallas.
Oh, that's right. Yeah.
Wasn't making money, so they parted ways.
Yep.
If you're going to be in the restaurant business, you have to make money.
That's right.
That's the first thing you have to realize. You shouldn't do it because it's not
glamorous.
It's not like the Our Gang comedies where they just let's go put on a show. I always tell people, like, I relate back to that, like the black and white Our Gang thing I used to watch as a kid, where they would just be these kids during the Depression to cheer themselves up. They would just get like toilet paper and their hats and canes, and they put on a show to cheer themselves up. That's not the restaurant business.
Right. No, it's not by any stretch of the means.
And when you throw in commercial real estate and percentage rents and the cost of food,
triple net leases,
labor laws, all this stuff, you better have a business plan, and you got to make money.
Stick to it.
And you have to make wise business decisions too, because once you sign that lease, you can't complain about it. And if the guy across the street or hard times come and prices go down, and you're paying $70 a square foot, and the guy across the street's paying $35 a square foot, guess who's screwed?
Yeah, that's right.
And I think we're coming out of a period where a lot of people, just a lot of growth here in Texas in particular.
Right.
Like I see it in Plano, I see it in Frisco.
Right.
Frisco's
blowing up like nuts.
Blowing up.
Yeah.
Blowing up. Because people are moving out there for the cost of living.
Right.
But there are companies like Front Burner who have kind of like monopolized those areas because they built aesthetic restaurants in great locations that people would want to come to. They built service for the people. So I think those are the three things. Number one, have a good business advisor. Right. Know you got to make money. Right. Take a look at what you're paying and what the market is out there. Location, and be a service. Have a vision that it's the hospitality business. It's not the me business.
Right.
And as a young chef, we're all about, anybody young, it's about me. You're making your bones.
Right.
You want the world to pay attention to you. As you get older, you make it less about yourself and more about sustainability and the people that you surround yourself who are going to support you.
And you do that through taking care of business and through service. Nothing's going to function in a restaurant without quality service and quality products. Period.
No, we met just by you tasted the food and you had the experience.
Right.
The experience of a restaurant says it all.
Right.
But they even make equipment. Like when I first was in the business, equipment would last forever.
Yeah.
Now restaurant equipment.
You and I talked about this a long time ago.
Yeah.
5 years.
5 years tops. You got to replace everything.
Even if you clean and maintain it 5 years tops.
I just replaced the entire line 6 months ago at the Highland Hotel because we had to. It was all just it was cheaper to replace it than to maintain it constantly from it breaking down all the time.
Crazy.
Where when I was a young chef in New York, that stove was there for
solid
20 years.
Yeah, solid. Yeah. As a matter of fact, some of the older restaurants, are still using some of that old stuff.
Yeah, when you go into hotels, they still have stuff from 10 years ago, 15 years ago, or older.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Now,
so let's talk about your book because I saw you sign a bunch of books one day. I came to your place and you were signing books, and I didn't say anything to you, but I just watched you, and I watched you sign like 8 or 10 books, which didn't seem like a lot to me. But they were stacked up, and you were signing them one by one. And I asked you, and I will never forget this. I said, John, what are you doing? And you said, I sign every single book that I sell myself personally. I feel like I need to do that for these people. That you don't use a stamp. You don't have somebody do it for you. It's not made. You do every single one.
I don't just sign some weird, like avant-garde signature. Right. I write a message to them.
And that's passion.
It's appreciation.
Yep.
And what I learned is that, like when you're in that envy stage and you're looking at people on TV and people who have cookbooks and you think you're just as good as them, or you have something relevant that could live in that world that they live in. Right. There's a little bucket list that I realized that there was in the restaurant business. Right. You don't know that. No one gives you a manual.
No, they don't.
When you get to the level where the politics starts to kick in, that's when you start to take notes.
Right.
And to be a notable chef, one of the things on the bucket list was you had to be a published author in a cookbook. Right. You had to have something of value for some reason that carries weight in the restaurant business. So by the time I got the opportunity to get that book deal, I was so appreciative. I still think I have an obligation to anybody that spends, whether they're buying it on Amazon now for $19 or they paid $30 in the restaurant, they need to know that I appreciate that.
Right.
And it's the same thing I feel. I wish I could go to every table and thank people in every restaurant that we have. But, I let other people do that now.
Yeah.
Like I have no problem. I've hired Gerald Sombright, who I was on Top Chef with, to be the chef of the restaurant in Orlando.
Oh, cool.
Right? He's going to be the chef de cuisine.
That's awesome.
I have Jake, who's worked with me in New York, and he worked with me at RM Seafood. He's been the chef at Plano. I hired a young lady in California who worked for Nancy Silverton, right? So I'm not trying to impress you, but, I've looked at this. So I have a woman as a chef in California. I have an African-American chef in my restaurant in Florida. And I have a Mexican chef in my restaurant here in
That's why I never see you in Plano. You got somebody taking care of business. You've delegated it.
Yes, you got to delegate.
I know you do.
And I'm moving. I'm 62 now. I love cooking. I want to be there, but I have to take care of my family, and I've been given these opportunities. It's time for me to mentor and become more of the restaurateur/chef.
Sure.
And before that was hard for me to do.
Right.
Because I'm like, I don't, Gerald might win the James Beard Award down there at the Ritz-Carlton if they feel like doing
What about me?
What about me? I don't care about that anymore.
Yeah.
I care about my friends and my family. I care about hospitality, this business, and supporting other people and people like yourself who are supporting other people. And we did this long before, I'm an anomaly because I've been doing this for the last 10 or 15 years, whether people realize it or not. I don't care. I don't need an award. I don't need a pat on the back. I just was taught that's the way you're supposed to live your life. Like be somebody, and then when you have something, support and give back to other people. It was always strange for me to see very wealthy, very successful, very famous people just get more selfish and closed as they got
bigger.
Yeah. I never understood that.
Yeah.
I still don't. To me, I'm just not wired that way.
No, because what happens is those people are why you are where you are. It's like actors and actresses that don't want to be filmed or take pictures, but don't want to talk to people or don't want to go talk to their community and stuff. You're there because they're buying your tickets, they're buying your videos, or your DVDs, or watching you on TV. And people just, I don't know, I don't understand either. It's
and I've never looked at, as much as I've wanted it, I've never realized that I've actually obtained it. And people tell me I have. So that still hasn't plugged in yet.
Yeah.
Because I don't think I ever want to plug into that and become that person.
Just want to keep trying.
Not at this point in my life. I want to stay hungry. I want to keep going. And that's been a valuable lesson too, is to just kind of stay grounded. Anytime I start to feel my feet come off the ground, I try to put myself
I have
back
somebody
down.
in my house that keeps me grounded every day when I get up, when I go to bed.
She's a good woman.
Oh, she keeps me grounded. Trey, who? Go sweep that floor.
My kids keep me grounded.
Yeah, that's right.
Because they don't care who I am, where I've been, or what I'm doing.
That's right.
They're just like, Dada, I need breakfast.
That's right. Hey, when's Plano going to reopen?
I think Plano, we're still closed in Plano, not because of troubles or the pandemic. Starwood went upside down in the mall. It was they were really, really looking forward to bringing life back into that mall. And a series of circumstances stopped that from happening. And they went upside down in their financing. So the bank took back ownership of the mall.
Oh, crap.
And they were our partner. See, I was the anchor tenant there.
Oh.
And they paid all of our bills. They did everything. It was almost like a licensing deal.
Right.
But they gave me 90% of the equity.
Right.
And then I gave 50% of the restaurant to George and a small piece to Jake based on his salary because I knew I was going to be doing these other things. Right. So we finally have worked through it with the new management company and the bank.
Okay.
And they've agreed to honor our deal and work through it. We're going to sign a lease of our own now and operate as an independent restaurant.
Okay.
George is still going to operate the restaurant. It's still going to be Knife. Jake's going to go back and be the chef.
Okay.
And we should open probably like August 1st.
Are the other restaurants still open around the area there?
I think the Mexican Bar Company and Terra Mediterranean's doing curbside.
Okay.
And I don't know. I think Whistle Britches has been doing curbside pickup, but it's such a strange location for curbside. Even that was hurting them. You know what I mean? Because they need to finish the project. It was, it's complicated business that people don't really need to understand.
So I always give gifts to my chefs.
Oh, awesome!
And because you're a burger guy, I got you 2 pairs of socks.
Oh, thanks, buddy. I really appreciate your support. We love watching you on Fox 5 here in Dallas when you do the greatest stuff. And thank you for picking the Ozerski and us as the steakhouse. It means a lot to us. I just hope people realize that it's the time to appreciate what you have, and be thankful and support and give back to those people who have supported you.
Yes,
sir. It's the only way to be.
Websites?
Yeah. Instagram, Chef John Tesar.
Chef John Tesar Instagram.
Disregard my political statements, but everyone's political these days. And Twitter, same thing, Chef John Tesar.
Right.
Knife.com, johntesar.com. You'll find me out there somewhere.
You'll find me out there. If all else fails, you can go to my website. I've got a big picture of John. You just tip that link and it goes right to your social media.
And if my political affiliations offend you, please come to Knife. I'll buy you a drink. You buy a steak. And we'll just agree to disagree. Don't hate me just because we're different.
That's right. That's right.
I love you just the same.
That's right. So Knife is open in Dallas. If you haven't been to Knife, y'all need to please go. It's one of my favorite restaurants. And, of course, you heard John here for the last hour talking about it. But I'd like y'all to go. And if you just want to have the Knife Burger, just get the Knife Burger. The Knife Burgers has won my 2 years in a row now. Hence that coffee cup right there.
Thank you, sir. Out of respect, I will drink the clean, sanitized water during the pandemic.
And Trey'sChowdown.com. If you haven't seen it, I'm sure you have. If you haven't seen it, TRUI, Trey'sChowdown.com. You can go to the blog section and read all about the blogs. We have a lot of best of stuff. We're fixing to have our best of barbecue.
Wow.
And I've been holding it off because I wanted to make sure the restaurants are still going to be open. that they were going to be open fully, that everything was going to be operational. You could get into them, get out of them before I released it. So
I thought burgers were a challenge.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Best of barbecue in Texas. Woo. Yeah. Look out, folks. That's you're going to be doing a lot of eating.
I get chastised. I've been doing it for a year. I get chastised, but it's my opinion. I'm pretty good at it.
I respect your opinion, and you're a good person, and that's all I have to say on the subject.
So, Knife Burger. Can they just get a burger from?
You can pick up. We're doing curbside at Dallas.
Okay.
Knife Burger will probably open before the restaurant in the mall. I think George is working on that right now as we speak. And I hope to do more with Knife Burger, but I have to get through the current situation right now. So I was going to open the restaurants in California and Florida and reopen Plano and have Dallas all back to normal. And then I was going to look myself to find a more, I think, just more approachable location for Knife Burger and build on people's love of the Ozerski. So that's still to come.
Next week. See ya.
See ya.
Hi, I'm Trey Chapman, publisher of Trey'sChowdown.com. I'm passionate about finding the best food, drinks, and chefs and sharing it all with you. I should know I have over 5 decades of food experience. Find me on any podcast platform, Facebook Live, or just Google me. Now you can watch and listen to all my great finds every week on my live TV and radio podcast at Trey's Chowdown Live.